I'm delighted to be here at the 12th India Minerals and Metal Forum. I remember our Dynamics Secretary General, Mr. Rakesh Singh, coming over to me because I've known him for many, many decades. And he was proposing that we hold a conference, and it was I who suggested that maybe we could have it on this particular topic. This is something which is very relevant, needs a lot of deliberations. I'm also happy to see that there are very eminent dignitaries on the dais. Mr. Jindal, the Vice President. Mr. Satija is an old friend. We have representatives from NMDC and GMDC. I have said this many times, that metals, minerals are the foundation of civilization. Civilization as we know it, in India, for example, started with the Indus Valley civilization. And those civilizations, those river valley civilizations, were called the Bronze Age civilizations, bronze, copper and tin. Then we graduated to the Iron Age civilizations. So, metals and civilization have been linked forever and ever. India has been fortunate in being one of the largest producers of many of these minerals. We are the third largest producer of limestone. We are the fourth largest producer of iron ore, sixth largest producer of bauxite. So there are many of these minerals which we are abundantly endowed with. In fact, our rates of extraction are not very high, and therefore, at least for the next 50 years, we are comfortable with what we have. In fact, even today, our mining capacity is such that if demand were to increase by 20%, our mines will be able to produce that much. But what we don't produce is also very important. Just 2 days back, we released a list of critical minerals for India. In this country, while we may be the fourth largest producer of iron ore in the world, we produce no selenium, we produce no tellurium, which are byproducts of copper refining. That's always more important to be a processor than a primary producer. India has vast reserves of titanium. We export them, and we import titanium dioxide worth 1,000 crores. While I appreciate the discussion which has been happening till now, I think we need to refocus our attention on the minerals of the future. Gallium, which is a byproduct of refining bauxite. Indium, again for zinc, and tellurium and selenium when we produce copper. Many of these minerals we do not produce. Sometimes there are good reasons for it. One of the reasons is that they are economically unviable. There is this opportunity for the chamber to put up a policy paper on how we can make mining of these critical minerals or their extraction economically viable. Because today a time has come when price alone does not dictate the need for a metal. 20 years back, China abruptly switched off the supply of rare earths to Japan. The prices rose 4 times in 4 months. We've seen during the COVID epidemic where money could not buy you oxygen. Therefore, there's a need to rethink these critical minerals, that only economic viability is not a criteria. I presume that some fiscal measures would be needed, for which I'm sure the Chamber would work upon. Apart from that, other policy measures would be needed. Today, when you extract an associate mineral, you pay the same amount of premium. That again might need a relook. The royalty rates of many of these minerals have not been specified. So they come in the residual category of 12%. That may also need a relook. These are initiatives which the Indian Chamber can take up, and I'm sure you will receive an adequate policy response from the government. Tailings is another area where we need to work upon. Mr. Bala has been very closely associated with the pilot project of tailings in the Kolar goldfields. We have 50 million tons of gold tailings there. Our understanding is that that is worth thousands and thousands of crores. We expect to extract not only gold, but also palladium from there. Unfortunately, in India, there are no miners who specify in processing tailings. This is again an area which is ripe not only for established industrialists, but also for startups, where they can focus on the technologies needed. We have a scheme for promoting R&D in mining. Unfortunately, the industry doesn't take adequate notice of it, does not utilize it fully. We have another research body called JNNRDC in Nagpur, which would also like to work very closely with industry. Unfortunately, the kind of research proposals that we get are not demand-oriented, they are supply-oriented. A researcher might like to work on some passionate project of his, and when we don't get adequate projects, that is what we fund. We are soon going to, we have in fact identified technologies that we are looking for, and we will fund research only in those technologies. You can understand that while critical minerals are found all over the world, 80% of processing takes place in one country. It is time that we looked at where we stand. The issue of low-grade iron ore deposits was raised, BHQ, BHJ. Unfortunately, we have a huge problem with this. The challenge is, how do we prevent misclassification? As soon as we notify a lower grade, somehow the deposit of the mine changes from X grade to Y grade. And this is not something unusual. It's happening all the time. This misclassification of grades is what is preventing us, because unfortunately many of us are into gaming the system, not working the system. And until and unless we become more conscious of what we are doing, it will be the same response of the government. The government wants to trust, but then trust begets trust. So I would ask you to devise a framework where this misclassification does not happen. It is only then that we will look at this BHQ, BHJ grades. I believe this is truly Amrit Kal for all of us. I believe this is the time for us to get together, look at what we've been doing with different eyes, recheck, recalibrate our responses, look at new processes, how we can value add. I think this is a time for change. This is the Amrit.